listen to me. I just recorded this whole video and my camera was on like self camera because I had tested it to see if I was in the right spot, and then it recorded it all in the other direction. I lost my voice and everything. So we're gonna break out some Sour Patch Kids and maybe produce some saliva and prevent me from losing my voice. Also, I deserve it. I just tried so hard. This video is about the MCAT. So I've made a video about studying for the MCAT and from the perspective of someone who hasn't taken it, but I have taken it now. I've gotten my score back and I've moved on. I've graduated. It's a fly. I've graduated from MCATs forever. I only took it once. I'm really happy about that. I hope that maybe something I say today can help you only have to take it once, but if you do have to take it twice, that is okay. It's really common. Don't be mean to yourself because it's so hard. It's so hard. I thought I was gonna have to take it 400 times by the time I got done with it. Let's talk about it. I posted a video about how I was studying for the MCAT right when I started studying for the MCAT around that time, and I pretty much followed that plan. I studied a little bit over 200 hours. My goal was 200 hours. And then I took 5 practice exams. So I took all of the ones that the AMCA, I think that's what it's called, that the AMCA offered. And so I think they only offer 3 maybe. And then I took 2 of them twice. So I bought all of them, which is expensive. But if you have time to take all of those practice exams, buy the bundle. Don't buy them singly like I did because that costs more money. I just didn't know if I was going to have time to take all of them, and so I did not buy all of them. That was my mistake. Don't be me. If you're going to take all of them, just buy them all at once. It is expensive, but it saves you money in the long run. So if you have a credit card, swipe that baby and pay it off over a month. So that was one thing that I thought I would mention. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. I've already recorded this video and I don't know what I'm talking about. My practice exam scores were a 509, again, a 511, a 515, and then a 517. So I took a total of 5, and my scores basically went up every time except for the first 2. And I took them probably about every month or so. So I studied from October to April. I took the test on April 13th. So I started lightly studying around October, and then I took my first practice exam probably in December when I came home for Christmas break. And then I took another one in January, and then I kind of took one every month since then. And so that was a good strategy for me. I wouldn't recommend taking a practice exam too early because I think it can kind of scare you off, maybe. That would be my advice. I don't think I would have fared well if I took a practice exam right away, like day 1. I would have been overwhelmed. It's 7.5 hours of content that you haven't reviewed yet. And the best way for me to get discouraged is to get a lot of things wrong and then think I'm bad at something and I'm never going to achieve it. That would not be a good approach to the MCAT. So if you're like that, if you're like me in that, I wouldn't take a practice exam and score it at first. If you want to, if you have a free one, if you want to flip through it and kind of see what kind of content you'll be getting into, that might be a good idea. But as for me, I don't think I would have done well, and I'm glad that I didn't take a practice exam right away. I used the Kaplan 7-book review series, and I read every single page of every book, and I did all the problems, and I took notes on everything. My notes are currently with a friend of mine, but I have this huge binder of like handwritten notes, and there's calligraphy in it, and I took a lot of time making those notes and making them pretty and kind of doodling in them, which I think was helpful for me. So if you're a big note taker, that might be something to do, but I wouldn't recommend just reading those books. If you aren't taking notes on them, I don't think you're doing it right, because you need to be actively engaged in that, and it's so much content. I think it's 2,500 pages probably all in total, and if you're not actively engaged with that text, you're not going to retain much of that information. So I would recommend taking notes or having some way to engage with that text. If you want to, you can write in your books. I didn't write in my books, so if you want them, LMK, because I need to sell them, but they're still sitting right over there. Ugh. Anyway, yeah, so as far as review content, I used the Kaplan 7-book series. I used materials from AMCA, not AMCAS, and then I also bought the psychology problem set, which is just an extra set of problems, but I didn't make it all the way through it, I don't think. I was really nervous about psychology because I haven't taken a lot of psychology, and that I thought was going to be my weakest subject, and it turned out to be my strongest, like on test day. I don't know how it worked, but it did. So that's the only two resources that I use. I don't know much about Princeton. I don't know much about like special classes or that sort of thing. So what I know is that Kaplan worked for me because I took notes on it. But if that's not your thing, you might want to take a class, or you might want to do something more online. I know a friend of mine, he is more of a visual learner, so he's been doing a lot of Khan Academy, and then there's a subscription called Magoosh, which he has liked so far. So if that's more your style, there's more resources for you, but I used Kaplan. So that's my take on that. So come test day, I was pretty nervous, like you might expect, and a lot of the things that I thought might go wrong on test day did not go wrong on test day. So they give you earplugs, at least at my testing facility they did. I had earplugs, I had headphones if I wanted them. I brought food, I had like coffee, and I had candy, and I had like cheese and meat and crackers, and I had all sorts of stuff, but I was not hungry. Like, I don't think I ate very much at all during the test, and I didn't drink very much either because I was worried that I'd have to go to the bathroom in the middle of my test. So I was pretty cautious. I drank some water and like a sip of coffee at every break that I took, but I didn't do a lot of eating. I maybe had like a couple Brookside chocolates, and then I was like, I just can't do it. It's a lot of stress. There's a lot going on. I did take every single break, and I didn't take the full length of every break because at my testing facility, I think it's this way in everywhere, but you're not in the room with the computer that tells you how much time you have left, and you kind of have to go through a checkout process before you come out to the room where the actual clock is. And so between the time that you check out of that room and then you check out again, you don't know how much time has passed in between there because you're kind of in the twilight zone. So I just didn't want to like test my luck too much, and so there were times where I think I had a 15-minute break. I think that's a thing. I don't even remember most of that day, but I think I took like 8 minutes of it, and then the other one I took like 10, but I just tried to be on time for all of them. But I did take every break, and I went to the bathroom and I stretched a little bit. I looked out the window. I was like, there is life beyond the MCAT. Like, I'm gonna go outside later, maybe. Maybe. So I did take every break. I would recommend doing that. I don't think it's a good idea to go all the way through. I think your brain might do a little better if you take a minute and just like breathe for a second. I didn't have any trouble concentrating that day. I was so concentrated, in fact, that I could see my heartbeat in my eyeballs for the first couple questions of the chemistry section. So I was pretty focused, and I ran out of time. I finished all the questions. I never didn't finish questions, but I ran out of time on chemistry when I was like rechecking things because I was so nervous on that first section that I was just baffled by everything. But as it turned out, like once I calmed down a little bit, I was able to answer those questions that baffled me. So just know that like it's really not that scary. It seems so scary. I was breathing heavily, and I could see my heartbeat, and I could feel my heartbeat. Just like, I was really nervous. But it's not that daunting once you get in there. It's just like a consistent level of hard, but it's not like scary. It's just like, here we are, we're doing the thing. And if you can approach that before you get there, if you can not be that nervous, if you can be as calm as you can so that you can approach problems effectively, that might be a good thing to maybe practice. I didn't do that well. So my chemistry section was a little bit difficult because I was so nervous that I just was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But after that, I breezed through things. I got done with biology and psychology way early. I checked through all my answers and then I still had time left over. So I think that practicing with practice exams and setting those timers and like working for an hour and a half straight, no breaks, was a really good exercise for my brain, and I would recommend doing that as well. I did that all throughout my training for the MCAT, I guess, is I would set timers and be like, all right, we are working for an hour and a half because that's how long you get on the MCAT, and you need to, I guess you get 50 minutes. I don't even know how long you get. I forget. I don't know anymore. It's not important to me. But anyway, I would work for about that long, and then I would move on. It's an hour and a half, right? It's something like that. Anyway, it's wild how I don't remember because it's not a huge part of my life anymore. Anyway, so other things that I thought would go wrong on test day is like my pen's not gonna work or I'm gonna run out of paper. Number one, they gave me like 5 pens and they were like, if these don't work, just raise your hand and I'll bring you a new one. And I was like, cool, I don't need to worry about that. And then the paper they give you is like laminated paper. It's called like a marker board, and I didn't use all of it, and I take a lot of notes and do a lot of like scratch work when I do anything. Like 2 + 2, need to write it down. 4, still, check it on paper just in case. It's the MCAT, it's really important. So I didn't run out of paper, but if you do run out of paper on your marker board, you just raise your hand, they bring you a new one. So you don't have to worry about that. I was worried about both of those things. Someone should have I should have watched this video. So those things weren't a big deal. You do need to bring like your driver's license, and it needs to be signed, and like just bring like a couple forms of ID just in case, because you don't want to be nervous. Just like be extra prepared. As far as the time between the MCAT and when I got my score, I left the test center feeling like pretty meh. I got some mozzarella sticks and then I passed out. Like, I was so tired. I just didn't feel good. And I didn't feel good for weeks, really. I'll tell you that I was so fatigued, I think mentally, that just everything, it was not good. It was not good for a couple of weeks. I just like didn't have any motivation to do anything. And because like 20 hours of my week were now not occupied, I didn't know what to do with them, and I just felt so lazy and not productive. And that might be because I took it during the school year, and I had talked to my work about decreasing my hours while I took the MCAT so that I could focus my time on that. So I was only working 2 hours a week, but I will tell you that I was a full-time student during it. I was working 10 hours in a lab. I was running a podcast. I'm president of an organization. I was in a graduate class. Like, I was doing a lot of stuff while I was studying for the MCAT. So if you're in that situation, it's not impossible to do a ton of stuff and take the MCAT at the same time. So don't lose hope. But I was going somewhere with that. I wasn't working much. And so I was like, wow, I'm so unproductive. I don't know. Like, I'm just not, I just felt really bad for a little while. And I was nervous about my score. And I, like, every time I thought about it, I was like, okay, I did this, like, this. And then a couple days later, I was like, I did a lot lower than that. I'll just, like, a 510 would be fine. And then a couple days later, I'm like, ugh, I don't even know if I broke 505. Like, it was the longest month of, like, doubting myself. So that happens, I think, to just about everyone. There wasn't really a way for me to predict how I did, and I will tell you that everything I thought was wrong about how I did, so I just wouldn't even waste your time thinking about it, because you're probably not going to guess it correctly, or you're not going to guess. You can ballpark it. You can be like, I feel really confident about that. Probably did well. But there's some people who do that who don't feel good about it, and then they do really well. So really there's no way to tell. So I just wouldn't worry about it and just open it, deal with it when it comes, and then move on from there, because it's just kind of like consuming. So I thought that I had absolutely tanked the chemistry section. I thought I had tanked psych and soc, and I thought I had done okay on cars and biology. And chemistry was my worst section. I got 85th percentile in cars. I don't remember exactly what my score was. I'll put a little screenshot of the thing here that like shows up when you open your score. Like, you can see all of the scale bars and stuff. You can see mine. I'll be vulnerable with you and share it with you. And then I did pretty good, I think, pretty well in cars and biology, and then surprisingly got in the 100th percentile for psych and soc, which I did not expect at all. I will tell you, I'm not a psych and soc major. I just studied my butt off on it, and I did guess on a couple of them. And that's just... I'm just telling you the truth there. I found the chemistry section to be a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Based on practice tests I had taken, I had done a lot better on the chemistry section, but it was harder on the test for me personally. The biology and cars sections I found to be really comparable to the practice exams. And then the psych soc for me was just a wild card. It felt like most of the time on the practice exams I did pretty well. Like, once I had gotten the terminology and the names and that sort of thing down, I had steadily climbed. But sometimes when I take those practice exams on that psych soc, I didn't know what was going on, and I did okay. And I say I didn't know what was going on. I guessed intelligently, so I would get it between two choices, and I would be like, I don't know what to tell you about this one. But I did get in the 100th percentile, and it did still kind of feel like a wild card, but I was able to narrow it down between two choices for a lot of them, for I think almost all of them. So if I didn't know the answer, I had narrowed it down, and that served me well. So if you can do that, you're probably in pretty good shape, but I don't know what to tell you about psychosocial. I think it was an act of God. I am very grateful for that. I can't give you any specifics about content that I found difficult because I don't want my score to be voided. But yes, I did find that the practice exams were comparable in cars and biology. Chemistry and psych soc, not so much. More so chemistry I felt was harder. So I would do some extra practice on the chem and phys section, and maybe buy the practice packs and do those if you are an exceptional struggler in chemistry and physics like I was. So I guess I wouldn't say exceptionally challenged as far as getting in the 85th percentile, but that was the hardest for me. So I wish I would have done more practice problems in that. Something I want to address that I don't know if gets addressed in like how to get in the 96th percentile videos is how to take care of yourself when you're taking the MCAT, because this is like an academic marathon basically, and it's like go time, and I think a lot of people just go and that's all they do, and you just kind of run yourself into the ground. So there was a lot of points in my journey from October to April where I was either crying or like really stressed. I was getting tension headaches. I had to go to the chiropractor a lot because my back was hurting because my muscles were so tight. And I'm pretty good about doing like mental health care activities, but the MCAT's just very stressful. At least for me, I was like, my whole future's riding on this. I need to perform, and if I'm not working hard enough, I'm not going to get in anywhere. And I was just feeding myself a lot of negativity, and I think everybody else kind of does that too. So I would just be gentle with yourself during the MCAT. It's normal to be stressed out. There's flies in here. It's normal to be stressed out about it, but it's important to take care of yourself. So if you can still nourish your body and exercise and sleep well, or start doing those things if you're not already doing them, you're pre-med, be healthy, come on. So do those things, but also like go out with your friends or hang out for a minute. Like, not every single hour of every single day needs to be dedicated to studying, because at some point you're going to burn yourself out and you're not going to be effective when you're studying. And there were times where I would get stuck in the mindset of like, I just need to keep going. I just need to keep going. And there are some times where you do need to just keep going. But a lot of the times when I do that, I end up burning myself out. And then I have to take multiple days off in a row where I just feel awful and my brain's not working correctly, and then my schoolwork suffers, and it's just not pretty. So if you feel like you really, really, really need a break. Take a couple hours off, take a day off. It's not going to kill you. It probably is going to benefit you. But find a happy medium between like, I need a break and I need to work really hard, because it is a really hard task, but you do need to take care of yourself during it. So don't forget to take care of yourself, or you're going to be spending a lot of money at the chiropractor. I know from experience, because I was in there a lot. I was in there so often. So just take care of yourself. I beg of you. I don't think I've told you yet, because I already recorded this video and I thought that I had already said it in this one, but I did get a 518 on the MCAT, which is in the 96th percentile this year. Sometimes it's 97th. Not this year, apparently. I missed the mark, but my goal was to get a 519, and I got a 518, and I'm happy with that. And that I wanted to get in the 95th percentile, and I got in the 96th, so I'm happy with that. And the other goals that I had surrounding the MCAT were like get into one of my top 3 schools, and I'm currently applying, so I don't know if that dream has come true yet. But if you want to follow that journey, you can subscribe and you'll see that unfold, because there's a lot of that coming. So if you have any specific questions about the MCAT that you might want help with, you can leave them in the comments. Specifically cars, I know that one tends to be really difficult for people. I do have a video about how I approach cars, but I also will tell you that if you're in high school right now and you want to know what classes to take as a pre-med, take some literature classes. I took AP Lit and AP Lang, and I took College English 1 and 2 and expository writing and Spanish literature and Spanish composition. Just a lot of writing and a lot of reading and a lot of analyzing text. And you might think it's not going to benefit you, but let me tell you, number one, it's going to help you a lot with cars. It's going to teach you how to analyze text. Number two, it's going to teach you to write well, which you're gonna need to know how to do for applications. I had to write 66 essays for my secondary applications. Just so many essays. I want to pull all my hair out, but I should not do that. So you need to know how to write, but also it's going to teach you how to communicate and be a critical thinker and be analytical. So if you are still in a position where you can take a literature class and do it before you take the MCAT, it's really, really important. But if you are about to take the MCAT and you don't have time to do that, leave me questions and I'll try to answer them the best that I can. You can check out my cars video. It'll be in the description box because I already recorded that. I'll also put like how I studied for the MCAT in the description box. Yes, I did say that in the last video. Truly, just treat yourself. Let me tell you, I treated myself while I was studying for the MCAT. I think I gained like, I'm not an emotional eater, but I emotionally ate during the MCAT. I gained like 5 to 10 pounds. I think just 5 pounds, but I wasn't exercising a lot. And I was eating a lot of chocolate because I was stressed out. I was drinking a lot of espresso, but I did still get like 8 hours of sleep a night, which was really important for me. So you gotta do what you gotta do. You really do. And I've lost the weight, so it's really not a big deal. If you gain MCAT weight, that was hard-earned weight. It was hard-earned MCAT weight, okay? You eat that chocolate, you slay those practice tests, okay? Okay. If you want to buy my Kaplan books, let me know in the comments. I'll hook you up with a deal. I'll try to at least. They were really helpful. I'm just saying. So, questions. If you want to buy my books, if you want to sponsor my gas tank, all of those in the comments. Subscribe if you want to see me talk about primary and secondary applications and hopefully interviews. Yeah, because I would love for you to be here on the journey with me. I've met so many incredible people on my science Instagram, which is new. It's called Bougie Biochemist. I've met a couple of cool pre-meds there, and we're just kind of going through the process together. So if you're in that same boat and you're going through the process and you want to see me go through the process, I'm trying to be active on there. So hope to see you there. Yeah, stay tuned for more updates. Hopefully they're more frequent, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!